tonight.
Yeah, I grew up playing hockey, absolutely.
In Canada.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Cleveland Monsters are playing tonight against the Laval Rocket.
Wow, that's amazing.
From Montreal,
The Monsters.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Hey, Tom Green is here.
Yeah.
Noted Canadian.
Yep.
Have you ever received any kind of Canadian accolades, like as a performer from your
let's
homeland?
see. I was nominated for a Juno Award.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager.
For MC, what was your name?
I was a rapper, yeah. Canadian rapper from
MC
Ottawa.
Bones, was that the...
MC Bones, rocking the microphones like a king on a throne.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were in high school. We were kind of trying to emulate the Beastie Boys and Public Enemy, and we loved all the hip-hop, and I would make all the beats and stuff. That was kind of my first jaunt into this business called show.
I have an Australian shepherd whose name is Juno.
Nice.
And my joke was always people are like, oh, like the movie. And I said, no, after the Canadian Grammy. And they were, of course, flummoxed. And you've got your dog with you.
Absolutely.
Tom
Charlie.
Green's got his dog Charlie here.
Yeah. You can follow her on Instagram, Charlie the Potcake Dog. It's Charley, like the spelling as in Travels with Charlie, John Steinbeck's book. Because I got her at the beginning of the COVID thing. Remember that?
Oh,
yeah. And we took off in a van, and we're driving around in the desert in California and Texas and Utah and Arizona and filming stuff for my YouTube channel.
You're very much a man of the world now, aren't you? You're kind of you're untethered from anything to which you don't want to be tethered.
Well, I am tethered in the sense that I don't live in the van. There was some there was a little bit of a misperception.
No, I figure you have a house with a roof and things.
Yeah, I just moved back to Canada after 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. I sold my house in Los Angeles after 20 years, and I moved back to Canada. I got a farm, and I'm a farmer now, basically.
Yeah.
And I just showed you a picture of my mule. I have a mule and a donkey, and I ride my mule around, and she's amazing, and it's really a whole new and
what's the mule's name?
Fanny. Her name is Fanny.
Fanny the mule. Go to Tom Green on Instagram, and you'll see these photos, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, I love it. I love being out in nature and getting out in the woods and fishing. And my parents live nearby, and so it's good to be home. And they're doing good.
Mom and Dad are still alive and thriving, and
they still talk to me.
Yeah,
even after all the pranks, they still talk to me. So I thought it would be. It just seemed like the timing was nice to try to leave Los Angeles and go back home and be out near family and out in nature where I like to be. So
was it COVID that had precipitated that? I know there were a handful of people that I've talked to that were like, I finally just said this was the push I needed to get the hell out.
It was definitely a big catalyst because, like, basically, I've been touring nonstop for the last 20 years doing stand-up, and then the touring stopped for about a year and a half, and I was just kind of sitting around, my house in L.A. trying to figure out what to do, and there's a lot of factors that went into it. The real estate market shot through the roof. I was like, I'm going to sell my house.
Yeah, right.
So I kind of timed it right, and I got this nice farm, and it all worked out good. So it was a bunch of different reasons. Plus, I don't think you have to be anywhere anymore. It's a long answer to your question.
You don't. No, it's totally fine.
With the internet and everything, you can do anything from anywhere, and that's kind of what I started to realize. And I've got my production company up in Canada. I'm producing a new TV show up there now. I'm directing a documentary and shooting a comedy special, all for Amazon Prime Video. It's going to be coming out this year, so I'm kind of busier than ever.
I was going to say, for anybody who goes, oh, Tom Green, you're never not working. I mean, you're always on the road. You're always doing stuff. I mean, you go back to the Tom Green show, you walked so the Jackass guys could run.
Yeah,
I mean, back in the day, if you talk to anybody now about, like, public access, they have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But that was really...
even just doing internet talk shows or TV.
Absolutely,
what you're doing in the early days of the internet with video and doing your talk show is basically what everybody ended up emulating in a way.
Yeah, it was kind of there's a documentary that we're putting together right now. It's going to be on Amazon Prime this year. It's going to follow the whole history of the Tom Green show, and it's going to go up to when I started my Webovision, my In My House TV show, which became a sort of a precursor to podcasting, and had a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting documentary. It's going to cover a lot of that stuff.
You'll hear Mary Santora in your ears, by the way. She's in Manhattan, and she's worked with
Mary.
you a number of times.
Oh yeah.
She said.
Hello, Mary.
She said you're just a delight to work with.
All right. Sorry you can't be here.
Yeah, that's all right. I just moved out here because, I heard you can do comedy from anywhere. So I
can
just
be anywhere.
To the
Zoom
most
in.
expensive city in the world.
Exactly. Well, it really is true though, and it's been interesting. I was thinking about it. I was speaking to some people that I work with, and I'm saying, do I think I need to stay in Los Angeles, to keep doing comedy? And they're like, no, you can be anywhere now. And I just kind of thought, yeah, let's give this a try. And I feel so much better. I mean, just being home. I'm not saying
Also,
I had a
not-
great time in LA for 20 years. It's not like it was.
It was not like you were like, I'm sick of this. You just wanted to change the scenery.
Wanted to change, you know.
And why not set yourself apart, not only geographically, but I mean, you've done it in just about every other way. You said mom and dad are still around. Is that you grew up around Ottawa? Is that where you're from?
Yeah.
So you're back there? I mean,
yeah,
is it
in the
okay.
country outside of the city there. And yeah, I'm building a podcast studio right now in a barn.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the first ever solar-powered podcast in a barn in Canada.
How will people? Are you reclusive by nature? Do you consider yourself along those lines? I mean, you're going to have people coming in to do the thing. You'll have them Zoom in. I mean,
no, I'm honestly, I probably won't have as many celebrity guests.
Yeah.
It'll be basically a lot of talking about stuff that I'm doing on the farm and having local people on talking about fishing and hunting and ATV riding and mules and donkeys and living on the farm and living off grid and building stuff. It's going to be kind of a little bit more of a broad concept. And
is it a safe assumption that that kind of environment is how you grew up? You grew up in an outdoorsy kind of thing?
I didn't grow up as a farmer or on a farm, but we always had this cottage, a little cabin that my parents had when I was a kid. So we would go out there every weekend and in the summer in the same area where I live now, and my dad would take me fishing, and I was always enjoyed the outdoors. And so, I don't know, at this age, I kind of like being able to get up in the morning and step outside and just see the fields and the
vast
forest
expanse of
there's
the
wolves
Canadian.
there.
Yeah,
there's
right.
bears. I mean, it's you know,
Bears.
Black bears all over the property. I mean, I left Los Angeles because I was worried about getting mugged, and now I'm going to go. Now I'm going to get eaten. Going to get eaten.
Yeah. Don't hang any food from trees or leave your clothes out or anything like that. Well, I mean, mom and dad were white collar people. Yes, I mean,
they work for. My dad was military. My dad was a Canadian Army. We got an Army.
Yeah.
And he was sort of a pretty strict military captain upbringing, you know. So, but he's mellowed a lot now. But so it was.
So professionally, that part of that was a rebuttal of all that kind of strict.
I think so.
Yeah, the rejection of all that. And
I think so. They did support me though with my dreams of being a comedian. They never. You know, when I started
for the stuff that you did on that show, they seemed to handle it pretty well overall.
Yeah,
They never were screaming at you or trying to fight you. Like it was, you know, they were shocked a lot of times, but it was never like you're not my son or anything.
Right. It
like
wasn't
that.
Freddie got fingered in real life.
No.
Yeah.
There was maybe a few moments where it got close to that, but no, they were. I think they kind of thought the show was funny. I think, you know, remember this was before YouTube and before social media, before
everything,
really before reality TV, and so. Like, people would see me waking up my parents in the middle of the night, or I painted their house, or we painted their car. We did all sorts of pranks on them that are kind of common types of pranks you see now. Like, you'll see them on TikTok and all over the place. But when we did that on public access, you know, we did the show for several years on public access before MTV even heard about it, and people would sort of catch the show, and they just sort of couldn't really believe what they were seeing because they hadn't seen anything like that. People would say, "Are those your real parents?" People couldn't fathom that that somebody would actually do big pranks like that to their actual parents. So it was a different world. I really had I mean, you guys probably remember, right? But it was like a different reaction back then to things because it was sort of people hadn't really seen that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of fun.
Not only had they not seen it before, they haven't seen it since because everything of a certain. I mean, you and I are about the same age. You're like a month younger than me, literally.
Okay, wow.
So it's like. You know, since
you look good. What the hell did I do? I got to stop drinking.
I wasn't living that Tom Green life, boy. Painting houses is hard work. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's but for our kind of generation, I mean, even after that genre that you probably didn't even realize you were spawning, everybody subsequent was kind of like, oh, you're doing Tom Green. There was that thing for a while where, oh, you're doing Tom Green.
It's kind of, you know, it's interesting because, like, the reason I don't run around and do pranks anymore, there's multiple, like, those kind of pranks, there's multiple reasons, I guess. One is it doesn't have the same kind of impact now. Like, you can see this everywhere. You can go on, you know, I woke up this morning, grabbed my phone. Before I was out of bed, I saw, you know, a Karen getting tased.
Yeah.
You know, and people screaming at each other and people being flustered and shocked and confused on video. So there's so much oversaturation of that it doesn't have the element of surprise. And plus
and it
I
has
think as
to
you
be...
get older too, I think there's something different about a 28-year-old kid running around being a goof and a 53-year-old guy running around being a goof.
But also it has to be, by its very nature, ratcheted up, because so many people are doing it now that it becomes less silly, which is why your stuff is so funny, and more, there's almost an anger to it. There's a competition to it. It's really weird. It just has a lot of it has an uncomfortable vibe.
Yeah, I love doing stand-up now because it's the purest form of comedy. I mean, it's a real live performance, and the last 15, almost 20 years now, I've been nonstop. I'm shooting my second stand-up special now. First one was a Showtime special, and this one's going to be for Amazon Prime.
Where are you going to shoot that?
Well, we're shooting actually all over on this tour right now.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm also shooting a show in Canada that's going to be kind of the main theater show. But then we're actually shooting tonight at Hilarities and tomorrow and
Saturday.
Saturday.
Have a little amalgamation of all these different spots you've done.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a seamless edit. It's going to be an hour-long special that cuts from city to city.
I like that.
Tom Green is at Hilarities this weekend. I think there are only tickets available for tonight.
Yeah.
I think all the other ones are sold out.
Exactly, yeah.
So if you want to go see Tom Green tonight, I mean, you could walk up at this point and get tickets tonight. But,
there's a few left. And it's been cool. Like I can drive here. I drove here from my farm. We're on this tour. We're driving, so I just jumped in my pickup truck and crossed the Canadian border, went to Detroit, did some shows there. Then we've been in Michigan for the last week, and Indiana and Ohio, and we're here now. We were in Columbus last night, and Cincinnati the night before, and we're just
wandering the earth,
hitting all the hot spots.
Yeah, good for you. I'll tell you what. That's when people describe leaving and they're on a farm and whatever, obviously there is. To us, we go, oh, there's something like the American West or whatever. But also, and I love Canada, I love, Toronto and Vancouver and all that, but that's where my mind usually goes. But it's important to remind people that most of Canada is rural.
Yeah.
It's a huge country.
Yeah.
It's not as densely populated as down here.
Yeah.
And so there's plenty of room to, bob and weave around bears and have a good time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not a Western ranch type farm. It's more like an Eastern farm. It's a lot like the farms you would see here in Ohio when you're outside the city and you see, I got a couple 100-year-old barns, and I've got the house was built in 1857. It's an old pioneer's log house which has been refurbished, and it's a nice little place, and I love it.
There's something very peaceful about that, knowing like you just have that spot and you just kind of be there in nature. And you said you're doing this Amazon Prime TV show too. What's that going to be?
Well, the show is called Tom Green Country. It actually hasn't been announced yet. I'm just talking about it now because I actually haven't been on a radio show in about 3 years either.
Hey,
so this is exciting.
Thank
you guys
for
asked me
coming
to come by, so thank you. But I've been since we're talking about it, it's called Tom Green Country. It's probably going to, not sure when it's out yet. Maybe in the fall. I'm directing and producing it, and it's kind of a docu-series about my life on the farm. And then there's this stand-up special we're doing, as well as a feature-length documentary about the Tom Green Show and all those crazy years too, with going back and looking at all the old pranks and stuff. So
awesome! I love all of that.
You've probably been asked it a million times, but it's always an interesting question to me because of how inward it is. How do you describe your sense of humor?
Well, first of all, I grew up loving a lot of what you would call traditional comedy. I mean, I grew up loving David Letterman and Saturday Night Live and SCTV and Monty Python,
which seem traditional now, but back then they were very much not so.
Completely outrageous. Yeah, when I would see Monty Python's Flying Circus on TV every night on the CBC in Canada,
and you had SCTV up there.
Yeah, and it would play nonstop. It was SCTV was a mainstream primetime show. You come home and be on after school every day. So you sort of grow up with this really kind of absurd comedy being kind of pummeled into your brain.
Did you predate
Canada.
Kids in the Hall?
No, they were
kind of concurrent
when I was in high school. They were on,
okay.
and they were just some of my favorites. And I got to know all of those guys. And Bruce McCullough directed 2 movies that I was in: the Stealing Harvard, and the first time I was in a movie, Superstar. I had a small part in that.
Nice.
So and he's awesome. And then I got to know all the other guys from coming up to my web shows and things, podcasts and stuff over the years. So that was sort of like I think in Canada we did have some shows that were on in the United States, but they were prime time in Canada.
Yes.
Everybody, when the Kids in the Hall came on, everything stopped. You'd come into school the next day, everybody was talking about the Kids in the Hall in Canada. So yeah, it was. So I was very inspired by that. I was also inspired a lot by skateboarding videos and just being, out on my skateboard and getting into sort of, wild and crazy interactions with security guards and stuff and kicking us out of things. And the idea of getting a video camera and filming all that kind of is where I think
it was interesting how those worlds kind of blended together of comedy and skateboarding, because there was some just silliness that went on with those videos that you'd see the cool tricks, but then you'd see them just do something outrageous just for fun and laugh at that.
It was a lot of it was just timing, The timing was I was at that right age when the video cameras and all that stuff was available.
Right. And
but I was doing stand-up when I was 16 years old at Yuck Yucks in Canada, and I was really into stand-up comedy, and I looked up to people like Robin Williams and Steve Martin, and as I got older, I looked back at George Carlin and Richard Pryor and all the great comedians.
So there wasn't a point where you were like just kind of going through all of those different kinds of influences. A lot of times people who are creative or want to be creative in a funny way, they go, well, is stand-up for me or is improv for me?
Yeah.
Had you dabbled in both, or were you like, I'm kind of a lone wolf, this is what I want to do, stand-up is what it's going to be?
Yeah, I discovered stand-up comedy when I was about 16 years old. I'd go down to Yuck Yucks, which is still there. It's Howard Wagman and Mark Breslin still run Yuck Yucks up there, and Howard runs the one in Ottawa. And when you're 16 and you discover a stand-up comedy bar that you can go to, and you start going out to a bar, and it's Thursday night,
and it's weird,
And then Norm Macdonald was who became a friend of mine, but was my hero when I was in high school, because this was before he was on Saturday Night Live. He was in his 20s, rolling through. He's from Ottawa, where I'm from too. So he would kind of roll through on tour, and we would all, my friends and I. We kind of felt
Star
like
Search back in the day.
We kind of felt like we discovered this comedy club. It wasn't like everybody in our high school was going to the comedy club at the time. It was sort of a new thing. So it was kind of an exciting thing to go down there and discover people like Norm Macdonald. And then when he went to Saturday Night Live, it was surreal, really, because here was this guy from our hometown hosting Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live. We had always sort of seen him as, this guy's the most outrageous guy. You'd watch comedy and it was a lot more down the middle. Every 10 years or so, somebody comes along and kind of dismantles what's going on, right? And he was sort of a disruptor, right? And when we saw him, it was just sort of great. It felt like he was.
Who do you see now where you're like, I really like what they're doing? Is there a performer you look at and you're like, I'm really? They don't have to be reminiscent of you. Just somebody that kind of.
I really like Shane Gillis a lot. He's amazing, and. It's incredible what Joe Rogan's doing. I mean, I just went on his podcast and went down to his amazing comedy club, the Comedy Mothership in Austin. And I mean, what he's doing is really, if you want to talk about disruptive in an incredibly interesting way, is he's sort of creating this whole new system for stand-up, right? All the comedians
it's the
able to come
Show
through
now.
there, and it really kind of, really is a launching pad for so many great stand-up comedians. So. I love so many great, Tom Segura, Bill Burr, Theo Vaughn, all those guys that are killing it right now. Burt Kreischer. There's so many funny people.
Sound so
He's living in the Canadian country, Bill. It's on brand.
I said Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Tom Green is at Hilarities this weekend. You are out of luck if you wanted to see him any night but tonight, but you should go tonight. All the other ones are sold out. Hilarities.com for the details. You could walk right around the corner from here and get yourself a ticket. Tom Green on Instagram. He's got the farm. He's got the mule. He's got Charlie the dog.
Oh, yeah, bud.
Rescued from the Bahamas.
Yep.
And it sounds like he got a great life.
Yeah.
God bless.
It's a good thing. Yeah, I'm feeling really happier than I felt in years back at home, and enjoying the solitude of nature when I'm home, and then off on the road I get to be around amazing people and having incredible sold-out shows this whole tour, and people are coming out and having a great time. And it's I really like, there's people come to see the show because they remember the old stuff from the Tom Green Show. Some people remember, come because they love Freddie Got Fingered or Road Trip, some of the movies. And then there's a lot of people that are just excited about the stuff I'm doing on YouTube now and following along with Fanny and Charlie. And so it's a really kind of a really broad group of people that come to the shows, and it's been great.
Do you have a Rip Torn story off the top of your head?
Yeah, well,
I love Rip Torn so much.
He was amazing.
He was the real deal.
Yeah, he played my father in Freddie Got Fingered. And there was a lot of people up for that role. So I directed that movie. So I met with and wrote it. So there was, it was a crazy time where, major studios were letting me write and direct movies. And they actually let me make Freddie Got Fingered. Yes. So somebody was, not thinking straight, I guess. But so when that movie was being cast, I sat down with William Shatner, Jon Voight, and James Woods all wanted to play my father, and Rip Torn. And
any one of them who would have killed it.
It was amazing, and I was a really tough choice, and the studio actually really wanted Rip, and I was like, that's great. I love Rip, and
is that because his quote was the lowest as far as they were concerned? That's probably all they cared about.
I don't really know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he was on the Larry Sanders Show. He was in Men in Black, so he was probably doing more relevant movies at the time than some of those guys. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know what the reason, but it was great. I mean, he was great, and we shot the movie in Vancouver, and he was a nice man, but he was also sometimes a little bit like the character. He was
a fighter.
He's a little surly.
He did not suffer fools. He was a tough guy, but on the weekends he would go out and go fishing. And in Vancouver, and he would come back every Monday with a giant salmon, and we'd cook up this huge salmon for the cast and crew at lunch, and it was feed the whole crew. These salmon were so big. So
he was a real man.
He was a real man, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I hope that it's not, because it's been a minute since you've been on this show. I hope it's not as long until we see you next time.
Yeah.
So.
No, like I said, I live in the neighborhood now, so I mean, I'm going to be doing these driving tours a lot more. I'll be in this part of the country a lot more, so it definitely won't be
come
another...
by next time you're around.
Yeah, I think it's been like 6 years or something since
it's been a while,
So I'll be back.
Good to see you.
Thanks, man.
Tom Green is in Cleveland this weekend. Don't miss him. Get those tickets to see him tonight at Hilarities. Tom Green on Instagram. We'll take a break. 35192. Want to text for anything, and we'll be back.
The Alan Cox Show, where you go on our free iHeartRadio app. This weekend, the Buzzard backs up to the 90s.
Welcome. You've got 90s.
And we're going deep.
Even deeper. Is that all you got?
If you heard it here in the 90s, you'll hear it here this weekend.
I want you to listen to me, and I will say this again. We will not play music from any other decade.
It's nothing but the 90s on 100.7 WMMS.
Get Spectrum, internet, mobile, and TV. Restrictions apply. Visit spectrum.com for details.
The Bush Guide, cold and smooth survival skills. For a successful stint in the great outdoors, pack accordingly. Place heavy essentials near your spine for stability in rough terrain, with light items near the bottom. Now, you may be wondering, where does the Bush Light go? In your stomach. Bush. Head for the mountains.
Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2024, Anheuser-Busch, Busch Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Greatness doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, focus, and dedication. At Shelter Insurance, we understand that because we put in the hard work and dedication for decades. And that commitment is paid off with award-winning customer service for your auto, home, and life insurance. Visit shelterinsurance.com and find an agent to help you choose the coverage you need. Shelter Insurance. We're your shield. We're your shelter.
Mr. Hero's new Bud's Value Menu has everyone craving to try one. And what if I told you that you can get the bacon cheeseburger Bud for just $1 with any sandwich purchase? I know, sounds too good to be true.
I crave a hero.
Hey, it's Alan. Cars for Kids is hands down the quickest, fastest way to get rid of your old car, no matter what shape it's in. So do a good thing without cutting into your schedule at all. Just go to carsforkids.org today. And remember, that's cars with a K.
Spring into clean with Coit. Save 30% on everything Coit cleans. And Coit cleans everything. Air ducts, carpet, upholstery, area